What would a hydrogen bomb do to the Pacific Ocean? As the war of words between the United States and North Korea continues to escalate, Pyongyang hinted last week that it may test a hydrogen bomb in the Pacific Ocean. If a hydrogen bomb did hit the Pacific, it would detonate with a blinding flash while producing a massive mushroom cloud. The immediate fallout would depend on the height of detonation. The initial blast would instantly kill most fish and marine life in the blast area. The explosion would send radioactive particles flying through the air and into the water. Wind also has the potential to carry the particles hundreds of miles. The smoke created at the strike zone could potentially block out sunlight, hurting organisms that utilize photosynthesis. Radiation would lead to severe health problems for surrounding aquatic life. Humans could also be affected if radioactive fallout reaches land. Particles could contaminate air, water, and soil. Oh, dear leader.
Japan, US, and South Korea show Kim who's boss. Morbidly obese North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un may have lost some weight down the toilet recently. Why? 4 American F-35Bs and 2 B-1B bombers, along with 4 Korean F-15s and 4 Japanese F-2s, flew in sequential military drills this week. South Korean and American aircraft dropped live munitions at the Pilsong training range in South Korea. According to the U.S. Pacific Command, the exercises were conducted in response to North Korea's missile launch over Japan on September 14th. The Japanese and American aircraft flew over waters near the southwest coast of Japan. Kim's Russian and Chinese comrades also ran joint naval exercises near the Russia-DPRK border, and word is they weren't for his benefit. Frenemies much? North Korea fires missile over Japan. As Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump continue their potentially nuclear game of chicken, North Korea fired off a ballistic missile over northern Japan today. Thankfully, no country was blown off the face of the planet. South Korea says the launch was the second time the DPRK has fired a missile over the land of the rising sun in less than a month. The U.S. Pacific Command assessed it was an intermediate-range ballistic missile, though this conflicted with reports from Japan, which is still analyzing the situation. The missile was reportedly fired from the district of Sunan, in the North Korean capital of Pyongyang, and flew about 3,700 kilometers, reaching an altitude of 770 kilometers. Although the missile merely dropped into the Pacific Ocean, the launch still shouldn't be taken lightly, as it did come only hours after Kim took the UN Security Council's approval of additional sanctions pretty badly, with the North threatening to sink Japan and reduce the US mainland into ash and darkness. Today's launch was enough to prompt South Korea to carry out a live-fire drill that included a missile launch scenario, which the South claims would be able to strike the Sunan airport launch site. Meanwhile, Japan is also understandably shaken up, with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe telling the press that the launch was totally unacceptable and went against the international community's strong, united will for a peaceful solution. On the other hand, after being briefed about the situation, U.S. President Donald Trump apparently had nothing to say when asked by a pool reporter about the launch. Everything you need to know about North Korea's latest nuclear test. North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un took a break from not pooping at the weekend to make some boom boom. Big boom boom. On Sunday, September 3rd, North Korea conducted its 6th and most powerful nuclear test at the underground Pungguri nuclear test facility. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the underground explosion resulted in a 6.3 magnitude earthquake. Estimates put its explosive yield at 120 kilotons. For comparison, the little boy bomb dropped on Hiroshima in 1945 had a yield of 15 kilotons. The recent North Korean test was 8 times stronger than that. But it's just over a third of the power of the recently tested U.S. remote-controlled nuclear bomb, the B-61-12. That holds a maximum yield of 340 kilotons. Meet the Castle Bravo. This had an explosive yield of 15,000 kilotons when it was tested in 1954. It's the most powerful American bomb to ever be tested, but it's not the strongest. This is the Tsar Bomba. This Soviet super nuke was tested in 1961 and had a blast yield of 50,000 kilotons. That's 400 times stronger than North Korea's latest test. But don't think that makes the North any less dangerous, because turning a test bomb into a deliverable nuclear payload is quite the challenge, and it looks like the North might already be there. There is speculation this weekend's test bomb will form the warhead component of the Hwasong-14, North Korea's intercontinental ballistic missile. This ICBM can reportedly hit Alaska. Over the weekend, the United States threatened a massive military response against the use of such a weapon against the US or its allies. Interestingly, President Trump is considering stopping trade with any country that does business with North Korea, aka China, because without the People's Republic's support, the North Korean regime would collapse. North Korea's military might. With tensions ramping up on the Korean peninsula, perhaps it's time to assess just exactly what kind of heat Kim Jong-un is packing. According to The Telegraph, North Korea is believed to have more than 1,000 missiles of varying ranges. North Korea's short and long-range missiles can strike South Korea and Japan. Washington says Pyongyang is also developing a missile that will be capable of reaching the continental United States. North Korea is estimated to have enough plutonium to build as many as 6 nuclear bombs. Experts say it will take North Korea up to 10 years to fit a nuclear warhead to a missile capable of reaching the US. North Korea is believed to be able to make most kinds of chemical weapons. South Korea says the DPRK also has biological weapons, but it is unclear if they are ready for the battlefield. Military service is mandatory in North Korea for men and women, and the army has more than 1 million troops. The army relies on outdated Soviet tanks. The Navy has more than 70 submarines and 3 frigates. Most North Korean Air Force planes are outdated Chinese fighter jets, although it does have a small number of more modern Russian-built jets. The cyber warfare threat from North Korea is centered around an organization called Bureau 121, which boasts up to 6,000 hackers. Most of its attacks are targeted at South Korea. So that's the kind of hardware Kim Jong-un has at his fingertips. Let's just hope he brings an end to all this military madness before people get hurt.